It was a marriage of pure hatred, and they were doing all they could to hurt each other. Even a councilor said that one of them was going to kill the other one. When the body bag was opened, it was obvious that it was a human leg. Even though there was a lot of suspicion about who it might be, there wasn't enough evidence. Every murder is a mystery, but a victim's body is a lot of evidence. Every wound is a piece of the puzzle. The medical examiner holds the key to unlocking this story and catching the killer. Welcome to Criminal Minds. And right here, before the police tape the cameras and the forensics vans, our mystery begins. Whose leg is it? Who wanted it gone? And why only the leg? Because by the end of this story, we're going to trace every twist of a case so tangled it forced detectives to investigate one of their own. You'll meet a veteran pathologist who speaks of the dead. Each clue unlocks the next, and by the time we circle back to that lonely shoreline, you'll understand how a single bone told a tale no killer could silence. If you visit Toronto in winter, you'll hear locals brag that it's one of the safest cities on the planet. Coffee shops glow on every corner. The streetcars rattle politely past, and the skyline gleams like it was polished for a postcard. But the morgue tells a less charming story. Ask Dr. David King, the city's soft-spoken but steel-nerved forensic pathologist. After 9,000 autopsies, he can recite a darker census. Stabbings in back alleys, domestic disputes turn lethal, bodies fish from the harbor. Toronto's clean sidewalks sometimes hide messy secrets, and King has made a career teasing truth from bone, bruise, and blood. So when Detective Mark Mattison calls to say a human limb just washed ashore beneath the Burlington Skyway, a bridge commuters cross without a second thought. King zips up his parka and heads out. The Skyway arcs nearly 200 feet above Lake Ontario's western rim, linking the city to the Niagara region. It's a landmark, but also a magnet. Thrill seekers, desperate souls, and tragically, jumpers find their way there. King knows this. He's seen what water, gravity, and time can do to the human body. Yet the moment he inspects a leg lying on the stainless steel autopsy table, instinct screams this is no jump. The femur's cut surface is sheer and tidy, the straight plane you'd expect from a workshop, not whitecaps. King studies it under magnification. Parallel grooves, tiny, regular, unmistakable. Score the bone, saw marks, and in a few of the grooves, a dusting of bright blue paint. Propellers strike shred, torque, and splinter. They don't leave signature striations or helpful hints of color. Someone held a blade steady, worked it back and forth, and painted steel flecks drifted onto wet bone. Accident and suicide just slid off the table. Homicide jumped to the top. King phones a coroner, voice low, matter of fact. This case just became suspicious. News travels. By morning, half a dozen detectives whose desks are cluttered with missing person files jam the corridor outside the morgue. Each one hopes and dreads that this limb solve his case. Families arrive, too. Mothers gripping photographs. Spouses searching King's eyes for even a flicker of confirmation. But a leg alone offers only fragments of identity. King catalogs what he can. The leg is long, heavy-boned. The thigh has more cushioning fat than sculpted muscle, typical of an adult woman. Skin tone suggests Caucasian. No tattoos, no surgical scars, no unique birthmarks. Its preservation hints it has spent mere weeks in water chilled nearly to ice. The clock resets. Whoever this victim is, she died roughly a month ago. That window slices through open case files like a razor, landing on one name that has begun haunting the homicide division. 52-year-old Nicole Mattison vanished on December 2nd, just about 4 weeks before the leg surfaced. She was a mother, grandmother, and corrections officer who prided herself on toughness. 5'10", broad-shouldered, the kind of woman who could defuse a jailhouse scuffle with one stare. She'd separated from her husband, David, a Toronto police sergeant with 2 decades on the force, and moved 80 miles south to the quiet town of Fonthill, buying a bungalow she called her fortress. Friends say she was rebuilding, squirreling away cash, planning a clean break. But December 2nd didn't end clean. According to David's statement, he and Nicole spent that day bickering as they drove downtown. At a red light on King Street, Nicole allegedly hopped out, smashed the car's passenger window with her purse, and strode into the crowd. David watched her figure disappear, then drove home. 19 days passed before he filed a missing persons report. When detectives asked why the delay, he shrugged. She always comes back. Detective Tony War, lead on Nicole's case, heard alarm bells. A shattered window at a busy intersection? No bystanders recalled the commotion. A missing wife who always comes back. Friends insisted Nicole never ghosted without a word. And the blown-out marriage? Were learned it was epic. Shouting matches, counseling sessions, rumors that each spouse feared the other might snap. A counselor even warned one of them will kill the other. Still without a body, War's suspicion hovered, ungrounded. The leg on King's table could be the weight he needed, if he could prove it belonged to Nicole. Back in the autopsy room, King slices into the marrow, searching for DNA. Problem: the limb is nearly bloodless. Without fresh tissue, genetic material is scarce. He extracts what he can and sends samples to the lab, but the technology of the early 90s means months, not hours, before results land. War can't wait. He needs momentum. He examines Nicole's finances, finds she withdrew $5,000 and gave a friend sealed letters in case something happens. He re-interviews neighbors who recall seeing David's car at Nicole's house the morning she vanished, but not Nicole herself. On a hunch, War requests a search warrant for the silver sedan David claimed Nicole exited. Officers find abandoned in a snowy cornfield north of Toronto, its interior charred by an amateurish blaze. The cause? David blames a match-happy grandson. Fire investigators find rolled-up flyers stuffed behind a seat, an attempted wick. The burn fizzled, sparing the trunk and, crucially, trace evidence. Specks of blood, strands of blonde hair. Luminol paints constellations invisible to the naked eye. If that blood is Nicole's, the trunk becomes a crime scene. But again, DNA lag time stalled the case. War circles another angle. The saw. King's blue fleck groove suggests a household hacksaw, the kind big box stores coat in protective paint. Find that blade with matching striations, and they have a smoking gun even without the rest of the body. Detectives descend on David Serrano house. The garage smells faintly of bleach and fresh drywall compound. Under luminol, speckled arcs pop against the back wall. Blood spatter patterns partly wiped but not erased. They tear down the drywall, find a sheet installed suspiciously recently, and recover a single, flattened 9mm slug. Ballistics will later match it to David's service pistol. No hacksaw, though. Maybe tossed, maybe sunk, maybe hidden where even cops hesitate to look. Surveillance teams tail David. They note routine trips to his girlfriend's condo, late-night drives along the Ship Canal, erratic phone calls that investigators record with a judge's blessing. The wiretaps catch no confessions, but they reveal a man fraying under pressure. Whispered rants about forensics. Sudden silence when TV news mentions a severed leg. Then Lake Ontario offers another gift, or curse. A left arm drifts ashore, fingers sliced clean at the knuckles. Humor is bearing those same blue, deliberate saw marks. King lays his arm beside his leg, like mismatched puzzle pieces from the same grisly box. If a killer thought removing fingertips would erase identity, he underestimated modern science. Bone marrow doesn't care about fingerprints. Across the Atlantic, Nicole's aging parents in France submit blood samples. Couriers hustle vials across borders. Analysts compare genetic markers. Computers crunch probabilities. On a rain-slick March afternoon, War gets the call. The limb belongs to Nicole Mattison. Odds against error 2 billion to 1. A warrant for David's arrest is typed before coffee goes cold. Detectives pick him up outside his girlfriend's townhouse. He doesn't protest. In the Stark interview room, recorders were, and David unspools a story he's rehearsed, or maybe relived, since December. That morning, he says, Nicole lunged at him with a kitchen knife. His service pistol lay within reach. Reflex, fear, love curdled into panic. One shot to the chest. She dropped. David claims he wrapped the body, drove her home, hung plastic sheeting in the garage, and spent the night making her small enough to carry. He dumped parcels over the bridge, believing cold water would keep a secret. The car fire? An attempt to torch lingering evidence. Prosecutors charge him with first-degree murder, but pretrial bargaining and the thorny self-defense narrative whittle it down to manslaughter. 10 years. For Nicole's family, it's a gut punch. Yet they cling to the fact that the truth, if not the maximum penalty, came out. Dr. King later testifies that without the leg, without the saw's blue tattoo, without persistence, Nicole might have joined the ranks of the forever missing. If you're still here, and I know you are because this mystery hooks deep, it's because stories like Nicole's remind us that evil often hides behind ordinary doors. A uniform, a wedding ring, a neat suburban garage. The clues weren't theatrical. A paint fleck, a blood droplet, a drywall patch of shade too new. But stack them, and the picture sharpens. Years after David Mattison walked into prison, the Burlington Skyway still hums with traffic. Tourists snap sunset selfies, unaware that beneath them divers once groped through black water for severed limbs. Dr. King continues to speak to the dead, his calm voice guiding new detectives half his age. And Nicole's grandchildren, now old enough to Google their family name, find not a cold case but a closed one, because a single leg refused to stay silent. So next time you cross a bridge or stroll a shoreline, remember, the water keeps secrets, but not forever. Which begs a final question. What mysteries are washing up right now, waiting for someone curious enough to look? If this story pulled you in, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss the next real-life mystery we unravel. Drop your theories or lingering questions below. Do you believe 10 years was justice, or did the system fall short? I read every comment, and your insights could guide our next deep dive. Until then, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, every clue counts.